Welcome to my channel. When SEAL Unit Echo 4 was trapped and outnumbered in the Mandon jungle, they thought it was their final hour, until a single hidden voice cut through the static. I see them. Hold on a second. What followed was a battle turned on its head by a sniper no one had seen, no one had ordered, and no one could explain. But legends aren't built in daylight. They're born in the shadows. They always say you'll know when it's the end. That moment when hope runs dry, when the air feels heavier and the sky presses down like it's got something to say. It was like that in the Mandon jungle. Fog rolled in thick and low, curling like smoke around the trees above. SEAL Unit Echo 4 was pinned in, caught between narrowing enemy patrols. I could hear them on comms, voices clipped, strained, smothered by static and dread. "We're boxed," one whispered. "No way out. This is the end." For a second, I didn't breathe. Then I did what I wasn't supposed to do. I keyed my mic. "I see them," I said, my voice calm and low. "Give me a second." I wasn't on their roster. Wasn't even listed on the op board back at Camp Thornton. According to official orders, I was just a staff sergeant rotating out of Fort Burnham, attached to signals intel. Temporary duty, paperwork, and quiet hallways. No one noticed me much. Never really did. At 5'4" and built like someone more suited to admin than combat, I didn't raise many flags. Short black hair, uniform always sharp, voice rarely raised. They called me Sergeant Cara Marquez, but most didn't bother learning my name. The few who did, usually the ones who had something to prove, would nod politely, then dismiss me with a comment. "She's sharp on theory," Lieutenant O'Connor said once at the range. "But tactics aren't one on paper." Or Marquez? "She can calculate wind drift down to the decimal," Corporal Rainey laughed. "But that doesn't matter when you're in the mud with blood on your scope." I didn't answer them. I just listened and worked. While they swapped stories over beers and compared shooting scores, I was in the ops tent late, recalibrating sight lines, mapping fallback zones no one else considered. I charted humidity effects, barometric pressure curves, elevation recoil variances. All in my own tattered notebook. The one they joked looked like a math textbook. It used to bother me. The silence. The isolation. The way no one saw past the surface. But I learned early. You don't get respect by demanding it. You earn it in the dark, when it counts, when no one's watching. That's what brought me here. Not orders. Not protocol. Just readiness. They hadn't assigned me to Echo 4's recon sweep. But I had seen the satellite scans. I had seen the formations tucked behind jungle breaks that didn't match any known militia. I knew the numbers didn't add up, that the enemy had moved pieces we hadn't accounted for. So I prepared. I set up a remote firing nest on Ridge 19B, 2 clicks northeast of the op zone. I adjusted for the heat index and crosswinds, calculated thermal distortion. No one asked me to. No one even knew I was there. But I was there. And now Echo 4 was about to be wiped out. Captain Leland Brandt's voice crackled over the channel. "Command, this is Echo 4. Enemy forces, estimated strength 60+. Advanced weaponry, 0 air support. Requesting emergency extraction." "Dead air. Negative extract," Brandt replied grimly. "We're cut off. They're closing in with thermal scans." I saw them then, through my scope. Enemy squad leaders moving like they owned the jungle. Organized. Precise. These weren't militia. These were trained soldiers. Trained to kill SEALs. I made my first shot. The enemy officer, the one coordinating from a rocky overlook, dropped instantly, center mass, for 157 meters, wind adjusting east by 2 knots. Silence followed. "What the hell?" someone whispered. I didn't wait. "Echo 4, you've got Overwatch," I said clearly. "Call your marks." There was a beat of silence. Then another shot. This one was at a machine gunner taking position behind a split log. 611 meters. Took his left shoulder clean, forced the crew to scatter. The jungle lit up in panic. But I stayed calm. Focused. They never saw me. That was the point. Marines always say the scariest shooters are the loud ones. The ones who carry big rifles and bigger reputations. They're wrong. The ones you never see. The ones who hit without warning, who move before you spot them. Those are the ones who own the shadows. That's where I live. They didn't know me, but they would. The jungle came alive with chaos. Through the branches and mist, I watched the enemy stagger. Their formation broke, like ants scrambling after a stone split their trail. My third round silenced a radio operator trying to coordinate regrouping. One shot, 642 meters. Just a slight shift in elevation, one breath, and then, click, bang, echo, for didn't ask questions anymore. Captain Brandt's voice returned on the channel, this time measured but tinged with disbelief. Confirming overwatch at grid 28, echo 91. Negative, I replied. I'm on the move. Fire will track you. Redirect to 14 Delta, south slope. Covering fire incoming. There was a pause. Then, copy that. I moved quick, cutting low through the brush, taking alternate lines I had charted days ago. I had marked that south slope as a potential fallback position. Nobody else had. They never do until things fall apart. Echo, for broke from their cover and started crawling along the ravine. I laid down 2 suppressing rounds ahead of their path. Not to kill, just to make noise, make fear. Enemy patrols flinched. I saw it in their body language through the scope. Good. Fear bends fire. It makes smart men hesitate. My rifle wasn't the loudest. It wasn't the newest. But every part of it had been tuned, rebuilt, stripped, and tested again. It was mine, a customized M89 long-range suppressed bolt, wrapped in jungle netting. The scope was analog. No batteries. I didn't trust digital overlays. Too many ways to lie. I trusted feel, recoil, breath. While Brandt's team pressed forward, I moved again, higher this time, to an outcrop that gave me a clear shot down the entire valley. 2 more rounds. One hit a squad leader marking coordinates on a tablet. The second tagged a grenade carrier who didn't even get to drop the pin. I wasn't just taking shots. I was dismantling their chain of command. You seeing this? I heard a SEAL whisper over the comms. She's not missing. Not even once. No wasted fire, another muttered. Who the hell is this? I said nothing. Just adjusted my angle, sighted another pair moving to flank, and fired. One, then the other. Both hit. Both down. In 17 minutes, I dropped 19 enemies. No more than 2 rounds per shot. Always clean. Always precise. That's when Brandt's voice came back, calm but edged. This is Echo 4. Redirecting, as instructed. We've got an opening. Whoever you are, thank you. Still, I didn't answer. Not with words. Instead, I sent 2 rounds forward, into the ridge ahead of them. Right through a thick patch of fern where another enemy squad waited, thinking they were hidden. They weren't anymore. Jesus, someone gasped. She sees everything. Not everything. Just enough. They were halfway out of the valley now. The path I had marked for exfil was still viable, but barely. The longer we stayed, the more likely enemy drones would sweep in. I'd already seen one fly overhead. I dialed in a longer shot. A little over 800 meters. Through fog, trees, and a narrow window between 2 overlapping ridgelines. My breathing slowed. My pulse evened out. One shot. The drone dropped. That one made them pause. Not the SEALs, the enemy. Their comms cracked over open channels, chaotic and afraid. She's still firing. How many are there? It's not a team, someone shouted in their dialect. It's one. Just one. I smiled for the first time that night. Good. Let the myth begin. We cleared the worst of it by 0430. Echo 4 was down 1 man. Wounded, not fatal, and 4 were scraped and battered, but alive. That was more than anyone expected when the jungle swallowed them whole. I stayed on the ridge, watching their retreat, making sure no enemy squads doubled back. The wind was shifting east again, carrying voices from deep in the trees. Enemy commanders barking orders. No more tactics now, just rage. They knew they had lost the advantage. They didn't know why. Brandt called it in. Command, Echo 4 moving to extraction. Be advised, hostile presence thinning. Unknown Overwatch operative provided cover. Identity unconfirmed. Alpha Command answered, confused. Repeat, Captain. No Overwatch assigned to your unit. Brandt's voice didn't flinch. Then someone upped their disobeyed orders and saved 6 American lives. I knew they'd trace it eventually. They'd run heat scans, monitor ballistics, compare known sniper profiles. And someone, somewhere, would match my work to old files marked inactive. But I didn't care. Some things are worth breaking for. 18 months ago, I was given a choice. Leave with honors or stand trial for violating direct orders during an op in the Korshan Mountains. 12 Rangers were trapped behind a false line. My mission was to eliminate a high-value target. Not engage, not delay. Just take the shot and extract. I disobeyed. Held position for 14 hours. Covered the Rangers one by one as they bled and crawled their way out. I missed the exfil window. Survived 6 days in the cold alone. Completed the mission late. And for that, they stripped me of clearance. Quiet discharge. No medal. No appeal. But I made them a deal. No recognition. No rank. Just call me when things go dark. When no one else can step in. And they did. Tonight. Brant's team was out now. I saw the chopper cut through the mist in the distance. I pulled back from my perch and began dismantling the rifle. One piece at a time. Slide, bolt, stock. All packed into the weathered case I carried into every shadow I'd ever fought from. On the comms, Brant's voice came one last time. Unknown Overwatch, please identify. I paused. Then keyed the mic. You'll get answers at Alpha Base, I said. But I don't need permission to save lives. Silence followed. Then static. Then nothing. That's how it should be. I melted back into the tree line, moving like a ghost, just like always. No footprints. No name. Just purpose. When I arrived back at Camp Thornton, no one saw me come in. I used the back route, the gravel path through the old motor pool, past the disused mess, and into the secondary armory entrance. My gear went into a gray locker marked with a code that no one on this base could trace. Not even the colonel. The rifle was cleaned, dried, disassembled, and stored like it had never left. 22 hours had passed since the first round cracked through the jungle. It already felt like it happened years ago, but the ripple had begun. I could feel it before I even entered the debriefing hall. Echo, sat silent around the table. Mud-stained, blood-smeared, eyes still carrying the haunted focus of men who expected to die and lived instead. Across from them, Colonel Hendricks leaned forward, steel gray hair slicked back, fingers steepled. I need clarity, he said, because official records show 0 sniper support was assigned. So, tell me again, who the hell pulled you out of that valley? Brant looked the colonel straight in the eye. I don't know, sir. But she wasn't improvising. Whoever she was prepared for everything. One of the younger SEALs, Delgado, shifted in his chair. It was like she knew where we'd fall before we moved. Like she planned it backwards. Hendricks didn't respond. He turned and signaled toward the far door. Moments later, 2 men walked in, both in civilian clothes that didn't hide the authority in their posture. The older one, gaunt face, thick folder in his hand, shut the door behind him. I'm Director Hal Danner. Strategic oversight, he said. His voice was dry and quiet, but it silenced the room immediately. The shooter you're describing, she's not officially active. She was never part of this mission, but she saved your lives. You should know who she is. The folder hit the table. The cover read, Asset, Marquez, Kara, reassigned. Classified tier, Echo Black. Brant leaned forward. Marquez? I've seen her. She was intel support. The younger agent opened the folder and laid out 4 photographs. One in the jungle, one prone in the snow, one kneeling on desert rock, face obscured by scope shadow. All of them me. Danner spoke again, quiet but cold. Staff Sergeant Kara Marquez. Formerly assigned to Shadow Recon. Officially listed as discharged due to operational misconduct. Unofficially, she's one of the most lethal field snipers we've ever trained. Her records don't exist in public systems. Her missions are buried 6 levels deep. Brant blinked. Why? She violated direct orders in the Korshan Mountains, Danner said. Saved 12 men, but broke protocol so severely that command couldn't cover her anymore. So she made a deal. I knew what was coming next. No formal reinstatement. No chain of command. Just a promise. If a mission collapses beyond salvage, she steps in. Delgado stared at the photos. She was a ghost, he said, and we were dead men until she spoke. The debrief ended with silence. The kind that weighs heavier than gunfire. As the SEALs filed out, I watched from the hallway through a narrow pane of glass. None of them saw me. That's how it's supposed to be. But later, as I sat in the low-lit comms tower reviewing seismic intercepts from a different region, I felt the shift. Echo, had started whispering. It wasn't just their story anymore. 2 Rangers approached me near the supply depot the next day. One of them nodded slowly. You saved my cousin in Korshan, he said. He told me about a shooter who never missed. They called her the Quiet Reaper. I didn't answer. I just handed him the recon footage he came for. Later that week, A new sniper course began at Camp Thornton. I wasn't invited to teach, of course, but I lingered near the observation deck, watched as Lieutenant Juno tried to walk a trainee through wind theory. The kid got it wrong 3 times. Juno barked at him. "Stop thinking so hard. It's a feel thing." I stepped down from the deck without a word. As I passed the table where they kept the spare scopes, I adjusted the boy's reticle behind his back. Didn't say a thing. Just moved on. His next shot hit center. "Damn," I heard Juno mutter. "Maybe he is teachable." That night, the wind picked up. I sat alone in the field shed, tuning gear no one would use for another month. It was what I did when I couldn't sleep. That's when Brand appeared in the doorway. He didn't say hello, didn't salute, just watched me polish a trigger assembly and asked, "Do they even pay you?" I didn't look up. No. He stepped closer. "You saved us." That wasn't the point. He sat on the edge of the workbench across from me. Why do it then? No rank, no status, not even credit. I thought for a moment, then said, "Because sometimes a single round in the right moment changes the outcome of everything. You don't fire it for thanks. You fire it because no one else can." Brant was quiet for a while. Then he asked, "Do the people who sent you know what they cost you?" I finally met his eyes. "They don't have to. I do." That was enough. He left me alone with the rifles. It started as a whisper, then a look, then a change in how people moved around me. Not wide-eyed respect. That was never the goal. Just space. Consideration. Like they were recalibrating. Private Malik, one of the new sniper trainees, caught me in the mess hall one evening. I usually sat alone, but he stood at my table with a notebook clutched awkwardly in his hand. "Ma'am, you mind?" he asked, already sitting before I could say yes. He slid the notebook open. Wind notations. Bullet drop calculations. Angle of decline math. He clearly didn't understand yet. "I heard about what you did for Echo 4, he said, eyes darting around like he wasn't supposed to talk about it. "They say you don't miss." I stared at the page. "You'll never get this part from formulas," I said, tapping the corner of his chart. "Wind isn't just direction. It's rhythm. You have to feel it." He looked at me like I had just handed him a puzzle with the corner piece missing. "But how?" I pulled a pencil from his binder and started sketching. Arcs, terrain shifts, wind corridors through valleys, the natural flow of air over elevation. I wasn't even thinking. My hand just moved. After a minute, I slid the book back. "Stop memorizing. Start understanding." He studied it like scripture. "Thanks, Staff Sergeant." I didn't correct him. I hadn't held that rank in months. Not officially, but it didn't matter. Later that night, I passed the training yard. The instructor was showing rookies long-range stances. I paused in the shadow, unseen. When one of the instructors barked, "You trust the shot or you don't take it," one recruit mumbled under his breath, "That's not what Marquez would say." The instructor froze. "What?" The recruit looked up, hesitating. "She says you take the shot only if you know someone's life depends on it. Not before. Not after." The range went quiet. Then the instructor nodded slowly. "That's fair." That was the moment I knew. I'd never be in the official manuals. But they were quoting me anyway. 2 weeks passed. Then came the call. Not through a secure channel. Not even a proper comm link. Just a tapped signal piggybacking off an abandoned satellite relay. A voice with clearance codes embedded in static. It said one thing. Asset Echo Black. Green light. Support at coordinates 32. 7711 by 76. 0430. 7 lives in play. No air cover. No satellite. That was it. No map. No name. Just numbers and lives. I didn't pause. Just pulled my kit and vanished. The mission would never be in any report. Not in the records, not in the logs. But it happened, like the others. A failed comms extraction in the Carthari Divide. 7 special recon Marines cut off during a stealth survey. Ambushed after drone feeds misaligned with terrain updates. Terrain too unstable for ground teams. Sky too clouded for air. Only one answer. Fire from the edge of the world. I reached the ridge in 5 hours, crawling over rock fields and ice, calculating wind from the way the snow curved against my knees. No fire support. No exit plan. Just my rifle and the ridge. I watched through thermal lenses as the team below clustered tight, whispering into dead radios. 3 hostiles flanked. 2 snipers in overwatch. I mapped each position in silence. Then I began. First shot, 1,023 meters. Enemy overwatch, prone behind a melted glacier plate. I waited for wind to shift, counted heartbeats. Fired. Second shot, 811 meters. Took out the left flank before they even spotted movement. Third, the leader, shouting into a field mic. One breath. One correction. Gone. By the time I reached shot 6, the enemy had no idea which direction to fire. I held the line for 48 minutes. 7 men lived. No one ever knew I was there. Not really. They were extracted before dawn by a Black Hawk running silent mode. The pilot never saw me, but I saw them leave. That's how it always ends. From the shadows. By morning, I was halfway down the mountain, boots damp, coat torn, rifle clean. When I returned to Thornton, no one mentioned my absence, except for one envelope taped to the inside of my locker. Inside, a hand-signed note from Director Danner. For words, hearts saved, mission sealed. The ripple didn't stop. It never does when something real cuts through the fog of routine. Within a month, I saw signs everywhere, not from leadership, but from the ones who lived in the line of fire. An empty chair appeared at the sniper range. Always clean, always waiting. Some said it was left for the one who doesn't miss. Others said nothing. They just nodded when they passed it. The chair was never sat in. One night, I saw someone had taped a note to the back. Some shadows cast light. I didn't touch it. Didn't need to. At the advanced sniper course, instructors began shifting how they taught. Less focus on aggression. More on math, patience, terrain logic. You want to be a ghost? One of them told a trainee. Then you learn to think like Marquez. It was the first time I'd heard my name spoken in instruction. Not yelled. Not doubted. Respected. Corporal Malik, the rookie who showed me his notebook, placed top of his class. The only one to calculate a long-range crosswind scenario from memory. His patch bore a stitched symbol beneath the official crest. A feather crossing a rifle barrel. He never explained it. He didn't have to. And Captain Brandt? He never tried to find me again. But I saw his unit's ready room one night through a passing window. A Guardian station sat in the corner. On it, a pair of earmuffs, a spent casing, and a worn ballistic chart. A silent thank you. That meant more than any medal. It was late spring when the next call came. An extraction gone wrong in the dead reaches of eastern Turkmenistan. Deep valleys, black rock cliffs, no air traffic, no drones. A CIA asset compromised during a wire intercept op name, Logan Vale. His signal was brief. I've got 7 minutes before I'm either captured or lost. They called in everything they had. Nothing made it in time. Except me. The mission brief didn't include me, of course. I wasn't cleared for that operation. But the director's voice found its way to my earpiece again. Echo Black. Priority intercept. No satellite coverage. You're it. I didn't ask for backup. Just coordinates. This time it was bad. Winds from the north whipped cross-currents hard enough to destabilize most long-range shots. The valley floor was layered in thermal traps. My scope fogged twice from sheer temperature drop. But Logan was running, and I could hear the chaos bleeding through his open comm footsteps. Breathing. Gunfire. And then, is anyone out there? I steadied my breath. No heartbeat in my ears. No panic. Just the math. Range, 2,912 meters. Correction, 16 degrees downward, 11 left. Recoil dampening adjusted. Click. I'm here, I whispered. Stay low. First shot. Enemy in pursuit, down. Second. Another. Collapsed before he even rounded the bluff. Logan gasped into the comms. Oh my God. Who is this? I smiled. Someone who doesn't need a badge to keep you alive. I tracked him for 9 minutes, laying down cover fire so precise it might have looked orchestrated. Every round a message. Keep moving. I see you. When the extraction finally arrived, a single stealth chopper hugging the cliff edge, Logan was already near the LZ, untouched. The pilot never saw me, but Logan did. Just a flicker of my silhouette on the ridge. He raised a shaky hand in my direction before the bird lifted off. That was enough. Another mission. Another name saved. No record. No citation. Just one more voice who would speak my name in silence. 6 weeks later, a new class graduated from sniper training at Camp Thornton. I wasn't invited. But late that night, I passed by the range. The lights were still on. I paused in the shadows, just long enough to see the ceremony end. No music. No parade. Just a folded flag on a table. Next to it, a second flag, black, marked only with a single phrase sewn in quiet lettering. Cruise range. They'd started calling it that, the point beyond regulation, beyond doctrine, where shots shouldn't be possible, but still happened. Named after someone who no longer officially existed. I had become something else. Not legend, not myth, just a standard whispered between warriors who understood that sometimes salvation comes not from orders or ranks, but from those willing to disappear so others don't have to. Across forward bases, I saw guardian stations appear more frequently. A rangefinder left on a windowsill. A rifle sling hung over an unused hook. Always clean, never spoken of. One night, I returned to my unofficial hide at the northern observation post, a windswept ledge overlooking the eastern perimeter. Someone had left something on my perch. A folded note. On it, some protect without permission. No name, no handwriting, but I knew who had sent it. Captain Brandt, or maybe Malik, or someone else who had been pulled from the fire when no one else could answer. I burned the note in silence. Ash scattered on the wind. They wouldn't remember my name in history books. That's not how these stories go. But they would remember the silence between heartbeats, when all hope seemed gone, and a voice whispered from the dark. I see them. Hold on a second. Because sometimes, the strongest guardians are the ones you never see.